Hey there everybody, welcome to my 6500 points of Astra Militarum DKoK Krieg Army Roundup. This has been a pretty long project thus far. I've pretty much enjoyed a lot of it, although it has been a bit of a slog at times, but it feels very good to get it all out on the table, all here, ready to see. I only started painting in the beginning of this year, so it's been, I guess, a bit over 10 months thus far. And this is what I got. This is 6,500 and a few points, including a few Legends units that were legal when I made them, but then 10th edition came out and now they're not legal anymore, but that's okay. I've still got them here. I still get their points, recorded. I've also got a few units, like models here, that I didn't really record any points for. They're just spares. And I was just thinking maybe we'd go through what I got one at a time, and maybe I'll do a little wrap up of what I think of the units if I've used them in 10th edition. A lot of these I haven't actually got the time to use in 10th edition. I've just kind of been using, what I've painted at the time, or I've been trying to run a few, joke lists from time to time. But I guess I'll just start wherever I feel would be best. I guess I'll start with the newest ones. That is these three babies back here. So I haven't had the chance to use them. These are 3 basilisks. They got the earth shakers. I've got them magnetized so I could switch out the bolters and flamers. They got magnetized missiles on the sides. Well, they do, but anyway. I haven't really used them. I've used the earth shakers, and they can be pretty devastating, having that -2 to movement, -2 to advance, -2 to charge. Can really make your opponent have to stop and think what they're going to try to do. They're pretty fun to paint. These are the Armageddon variants, so instead of having the exposed gun deck, these ones all have the sealed compartments. But I've just got them recorded as basilisks because that's what I'm going to run them as. In front of the basilisks, we have 2 Earthshaker carriages, the infamous ones. They have since got their points thoroughly nerfed, so now they're about 120 points, up from 80, making them pretty much pointless to tank because basilisks are 135. These are now 120, except these can move, and they got missiles and machine guns. Well, they can both move, but these ones got, a decent move, where the carriages don't really have that good of a move. But other than that, they got the exact same guns. So I guess it's just what you really want to take at the time. Beside them, we've got the Medusas. Medusa carriages. I haven't got Medusa, Medusa on the Chimera chassis yet, so these are just Medusa carriages. They got a pretty good ability. I think it forces your opponent to take a battle shock. So if you ever think they're going to overwatch you or something, it might be a way to potentially get them to take a battle shock test and maybe not be able to do their overwatch. Other than that, they got a decent gun. In front of them, we got field ordnance batteries. They can either do a decent amount of damage to light infantry, or not that much damage at all. I've got a Malleus rocket launcher, which doesn't have indirect, so it's kind of the worst option, to be honest. And then beside that, we've got the Bombast cannon, which has got indirect and can do a decent amount of anti-tank. Beside them, we have the first legend unit I'm going to talk about. These are heavy mortar batteries. These are kind of like the DKoK Krieg specific mortars. And they did have rules in 9th edition, and then 10th came around and they were taken out. So I haven't really had a chance to run them in 10th. I don't really know what they have. But, they're still a cool model. in front of them, we have got my various heavy weapons teams. I have got 3 of every single team available. So right to left, we have got the missile launchers. They can, like, in 10th edition, they're pretty decent compared to what they were in 9th. Like, the crack missiles are fairly good, you know, they got strength 9, so they're equivalent to, like, a melter gun, really. Maybe a bit, like, a lot less AP. But they've got the flexibility where you can switch between crack and frag, so if you're running against lots of light infantry or horde kind of army, you have the flexibility to be able to switch into frag grenades and get that extra blast, as opposed to crack grenades, which would be good against vehicles. Beside them, we have got the autocannons, one of the big winners in 10th edition. They'll munch pretty much most infantry, to be honest. Like, they got pretty good strength, they got okay amount of shots, a good AP. Where it really shines their damage, so they'll be able to take out a lot of infantry without having to get too many shots through. Beside them, we have got the las cannons. These are what most armies will be using as their anti-tank option. You know, strength 12, okay AP, and you know, they're an okay. I think in a pinch, they're a pretty good anti-tank option. Beside them, we got 3 mortars, and you know, I will eventually get the full 9 mortar pit, but I just got 3 for now. And that is good, cheap, indirect option. Usually what you'll do, you just top them in like a command squad, and then you'll just use them to farm for fields of fire on your backline objective holders, is what I usually use them for. But, you know, against, once again, just a horde kind of army that's got a lot of light infantry, they'll do good, because they haven't really got that much, they haven't got any AP, I don't think, and they haven't really got any real strength, only like strength 4 or something, so they're not going to do much against heavy infantry, but against light infantry they'll pretty much kick their butt. Then we got heavy bolters. I haven't really used the heavy bolters too much, but yeah, I think they're probably against like lighter infantry, you'd probably take them over autocannon. But I think I'd rather just have the autocannon and guarantee the kill, rather than take the heavy bolter and take a few more shots. And then behind them we got a few extras, you know, we got some of my older style autocannons and then the spare las cannon and what have you. Then we'll come all the way over here. We got snipers slash rattlings. So I figured, you know, there's no point taking those silly little squats in a deathcore army. So these are just snipers that I run as rattlings. You know, Guard hasn't really got much access to infiltrators, so the rattlings are pretty much one of your cheapest options. Not really the best option, but they're your cheapest option. And, you know, there's a few options for them. You can run them just out on the field, or you can put them in a big vehicle and kind of have like a sniper bus, if you want to do that. Their ability is they get to shoot scamper, so they shoot and then they move 6 inches, which can be pretty good. I was toying with the idea of doing kind of like a turn 1 full aggression rattling push with a combination of indirect and death strikes. So basically you infiltrate as close as you can, you move their 6 inches, you shoot them, you move their other 6 inches, which pretty much put them into your opponent's back line, or, you know, at least into their deployment zone turn 1. And then you basically just move block them until turn 2, where your death strikes can launch, and then you get some pretty good damage with the death strikes. I haven't had time to actually put that all together, but that was a meme list I was thinking about at the start of 10th. And then we might go through the infantry. So there's about 80 and a bit infantry here, so I've got it down as 8 deathcore krieg squads, because that's what they are. But I think I need a few more sergeants and things to actually be able to run 8 full squads. But this is what I got. We got medics, which are the big winners in 10th edition, being able to bring back D3 death core per turn, which is pretty good. We got grenade launchers, which once again, they pretty much have the exact same profile as the missile launchers. I think just less strength. But, you know, same thing applies. You take them to either do a little bit of anti-tank or heavy infantry damage against one target or against like another light infantry unit. You can switch them to their frag grenades and probably try to chip off a few. Beside them, I've got my sergeants. And when I was running them in 9th, I was running them as Cadians, because Cadians had the better rules back then. So you may notice some of these sergeants have auto cannons, or like what I was running is auto guns. But I haven't had a chance to go through and do new sergeants with just power swords and plasma pistols, but it's probably one of the next things I'll paint. Is before I go into any new units, I'll probably go through and clean up some of these units, so I'll just do those plasma pistols for them. Besides them, we got my plasma guns, which are once again a pretty good unit in 10th edition for the Guard. Being able to get their rapid fire and only have to take one hazardous test is good. So I pretty much will always run them as hazardous, and then, you know, if they die, it's just okay for me because I can bring them back possibly in the next turn with the medic. But because they died, Deathcore get a +1 to hit, so it's just kind of a win-win, and you don't even lose the shots you took. Like, you continue the shooting sequence, so there's not really any downside to hazardous test rolling for them. And like, you know, even it's pretty unlikely you get two ones in a row, so you're a bit safer than you were in 9th, where you're rolling on the hit roll, but now it's like a whole nother test. So like I said, I pretty much always run them hazardous because it's just a win-win for Deathcore. Beside them, we just got our las guns, just a whole bunch of las gun troops. And you know, las guns are the las guns. They're the bread and butter of the Guard. Most people say most people that don't run the Guard will say, don't roll the las guns, they don't do anything. But you're like, I gotta run the las guns, I gotta roll them. Gotta get that 2 unlikely wounds in. And they'll do it too. They'll get the most unlikely wounds, and you'll be like, well, every little bit helps. Beside them, we got melter guns, which are like probably a dedicated anti-tank weapon, even though they're not even that dedicated because they're only strength 9, so they're only really strong enough to reliably wound light vehicles, but they're not going to do much against heavier vehicles. But you know, pretty much all we got in the infantry squads to be able to use. Beside them, we got the flamethrowers, and they just do what they always do. They're good in Overwatch against, you know, light infantry. They're pretty good. Ignores cover. Just all around okay. Beside them, we got some Voxcasters, and I pretty much never run them when I'm running Deathcore because I'd rather take the extra plasma gun. That's about it. Because I usually always run both solo, there's no reason for me to try to farm back a CP or whatever. Like, situationally, you probably use it in the opponent's turn if you're in Overwatch, but like I said, I'd rather just have the extra plasma gun. So we're behind them. We got some Bullwin, and I haven't really run them in 10th edition yet, but I got 2 grenade gauntlets and 1 guy with the mace, the sergeant. Then we got the slab shields and the whatever the other shield's called. And in 9th, they were pretty good melee troops. I don't think they do as good in 10th. Like I said, I haven't really run them yet. We might swing all the way back over here. to the Ogren. And these guys are good. I will usually run them in a full squad of 6, and then keep them in strategic reserve. And then, when I can, I might drop them in behind a unit my opponent really doesn't want dead, and I'll just kill them, because Bulgrin will get a +1 to AP against the closest enemy unit. And you got 6 of them shooting 3 shots with pretty decent strength. AP -2, you know, so they'll, against like a single squad, they'll pretty much, single infantry squad, they'll kick some butt in strategic reserve. And then like if your opponent doesn't kill them on their turn, you just move them closer and you get rapid fire. So even if, say you drop into 6, right, and then you don't get rapid fire because you've just dropped them in, so you only get the 18 shots, then on your opponent's turn they kill 3 of them, and then on your turn you move them forward. Because you now have rapid fire, you don't really care about losing those 3, because you have rapid fire now. So, like I said, that's how I tend to run them, with strategic reserve. But I'm sure, you know, other people might run them differently. We'll swing back over here. These are just a whole bunch of random crew for the guns, because you're supposed to run all these carriages with like, oh, you need to take 5 models to represent hits and wounds and whatnot. That's kind of what they are for, but I don't usually actually end up taking them because it's just a whole lot of hassle, you know? I take a whole bunch of models and I just use a dice. Behind them, we have 2 command squads. And usually these officers will find other duties, like as a commissar or whatever, but I just kind of put them together. So we got a Banner, Fox, Medic. That guy's like Power Fist. We got a, you know, Bolter, Power Fist kind of guy here. We got a Power Sword, Bolter guy here. Yeah, and you know, I think my main use for the command squads is just putting them in with Lord Solar back there to give Lord Solar a 24-inch range, and that's pretty much the only use I have for the command squads most of the time. Then we go back here, we just got a random flamer. Then we have a regimental preacher. I haven't had the chance to run him in 10th, but apparently, you know, put him in with some catachans and go melee crazy, really. Like, he's got a okay melee stat against equivalent light infantry or even some heavier infantry. Him mixed in with some catachan can do some pretty good damage. Beside them, we've got the regimental psychers, or the primaris psychers, and they are pretty good. Well, how I tend to run them is I'll put them in with a like a chimera. You put 2 of them in a chimera, and then you take full advantage of firing deck to get, you know, basically a psychobus. And because the chimera is the thing that's shooting the psychic weapon, so any and then you always use hazardous. So any mortal wounds go on the chimera, not the actual models. So that's pretty good. And then on top of that, the the chimera doesn't get the psychic keyword because technically the chimera is just using the weapon, but it's not an actual psyker. So the chimera doesn't get the psychic keyword, even though it's using a psychic gun, which is pretty good. But the other good way to run them is put them in with a infantry squad, like a deathcore krieg, and then hopefully roll anything but a 1, and you'll get a 4-up invuln against shooting, which will really be good on like something like the krieg squads with their, you know, bring back D3 models, 4-up invuln against shooting, and then with a deathcore krieg marshal you get a 5-up feel no pain. So they make deathcore krieg pretty beefy, like pretty hard to take, pretty hard for opponents to take out. If we go behind them, we have a Militarum Tempestus command squad, which I'll sometimes run as just a plain Scion squad. I've tended to use them for is just keep them deep strike, and then as soon as, you know, you get an objective, a secondary mission that might be beneficial for them to jump in on, you just deep strike them in and do the objective, and then if they do some damage, that's great. If they just die, well, they've done what I wanted them to do, which is get a few more victory points. Because, you know, we haven't really got that much deep strike once again in the guard. So having a nice small 5-man squad to be able to just drop in and do like a, you know, deploy teleport homer or something somewhere and just be able to keep that in your back pocket is good. So that's just what I tend to use them for. We go over here, we got another Legends unit. We got the DKoK Krieg Grenadier squad. They all have their shotguns, and then we got the mole launcher, which once again hasn't really got any rules anymore. But hopefully we might see them come back in the, you know, Guard Codex, possibly. Maybe with like a model update. But, you know, like I said, I haven't really got the chance to use them in 10th because they're Legends now. And if we go beside them, we got kind of like a color test what my first Cadian Krieg are going to look like, which will be like, you know, same red pants, but instead of grey jackets, we'll have kind of like a brown jacket. And then, if we go over here, we've got named character Ali. We've got Lord Solar Leontis, or Lord Colonel, as you can see, because he's kind of like a DKoK equivalent. And he is a must include in pretty much most guard armies. For a whole variety of reasons. He's the only one that can give orders to every single model in the every single unit in the Guard Codex. And like, so there's certain units in the Guard Codex which can't take orders from anyone except him. Being, you know, the super heavies like the Baneblades, the you know, auxilia kind of units like the Rattlings and the Ogrins and the Bullgrins. Like and a lot of the officers too can't really take orders except from him. So if you want to give orders to like a Lehman Russ tank commander, he's the only one that can do that. So that's why he's pretty much a must include. But like I said, he's only got because he's only got a 6-inch order range by himself. So that's why you have to kind of put in a command squad with him to give him any kind of order efficiency. Beside him, we've got a Krieg Minka Lesk. And yeah, she's just basically a sergeant right now. She hasn't got any special rules. Beside her, we got a Ursula Creed. She is severely nerfed now. Because of the new balance slate updates or whatever. She can only basically give a free order. She used to be able to give you a free stratagem. And it used to be any stratagem. So there's a whole variety of things you could use her for. But now she has a very limited range. Being, I believe she can give Fields of Fire for free. And take cover, maybe? One other thing for free in the core rulebook. But like I said, it's pretty severely limited her. But she's still pretty good. You know, maybe leave her on the back line to babysit some artillery. Because she has got 2 orders to give, so you just leave her, you know, unattended. Just sit in your back line. Giving those orders, giving that free Fields of Fire, and, you know, having a good day. I've not really bothered trying to run her attached to any units yet. But she can be pretty good at doing that. Behind them, we have got the DKoK Marshals. Or, you know, like I said, sometimes they pull double duty. But right now, I've got them as DKoK Marshals. You got, you know, I already kind of gone over what they do. They get the 5-up Feel No Pain to their attached unit. They also give free use of the heroic. Oh no. Whatever the no heroic intervention. Insane Bravery. They get free use of Insane Bravery. But you can't do that more than 2 times per turn. But now, because Heroic Bravery is a once per game ability, and they say they can use Heroic Intervention for free, but not more than 2 times a turn, it's kind of like, can they even use it for Insane Bravery now? Because it's only a once a game thing. But then, like, they never really, like, they probably have to errata it, you know? And just kind of give out a whole nother rules commentary about if they specifically can continue to use Insane Bravery for free. But I'd fully say they can. That's their whole thing. Behind them, we have got 3 officers of the fleet, which used to be individual models, but now they come with the regimental attaches. Which, if you go back here, 2 of these people actually used to be masters of ordnance with them. And then one of these people over here were the astropath, but like I said, I've just kind of separated them now, and now they kind of are like commissars or something. Sometimes. Whatever I need them for. Just some cool officer-looking models. But they're supposed to be officers of the fleet. Which, you know, if I had a full regimental attaché squad, would be pretty good, because they give some good buffs to aircraft models in your army. I haven't got any of them yet, but that's what they do. I haven't had the chance to run this next unit yet, again, but these are my Death Corps of Krieg Riders, and then the Death Corps of Krieg Rider Commander, or Squadron Commander. And when I first started painting these was in 9th, that's when you could take a commander and the command squad, so that's why I'm missing 1 rider. Because in 10th edition, you can't take the command squad, or you can, but they're a Legends unit, so I'm just switching them to just be regular riders. But I haven't had the chance to paint up their sergeant or watchmaster yet, so I'm missing 1. But basically, they will charge into the enemy, do a little bit of fighting, and then die. And that's about all they do, but they're pretty good at it. Pretty good at it. And then with the commander, they get infiltrate. So, you know, you take 10 of them, and then you take the commander, and then you infiltrate in your front, like your opponent's front line. Like, just off the deployment. And then you just have a great day, you know? Doing some nice charging, slowing them down a turn. That's about that. We come over here. We do the last infantry model. We have got the regimental engines here. Her in 10th edition is pretty good if you're going to take a Super Heavy or Rogue Dawn or something, because she will give a invuln to your tanks for free. Like, you don't have to roll that, and she will give a D3 heal. So she's just a pretty good model to take if you're taking vehicles. And as a bonus little thing, if a vehicle dies within 12 inches of her, she gets very angry, and she decides to smack people very hard with her axe. Which is good. So she becomes kind of like a pretty good melee threat when that happens. If you go behind her, we got some servitors. Haven't had a chance to run them, but, you know, they can be pretty good. I think attached to a regiment engines here. And then have her attached with the preacher over here, and have the preacher attached to some catachans. You can have a pretty good melee threat with all of them, because they haven't got that good at shooting, but they aren't terrible in melee. Especially attached to them. And then we are on to the vehicle pool back here. We'll start with the front ones. Transports. These are Turoxes. These are obviously proxies, because the regular Turok sucks. But in 10th edition, there's kind of like a clear difference between a Turox and a Chimera, where a Turox will be able to advance, and then you can still get units out of it, which is good. Whereas the Chimera hasn't got that good an ability, really. It's if an officer is within it, the officer can issue orders while inside a Chimera. So I'd kind of prefer the Turox ability, to be honest, because you have a lot more speed and movement. But I think a difference is the Turox kind of has less guns than the Chimera. Is one of the main differences. But yeah, they're both pretty good. I haven't actually run a Turox, I've only ran the Chimera, and like I said, running the Chimera as a Psycha bus. Because the Psycha, like I said, Psychas just do better in the bus. Also gives better order efficiency, which is something that's important for the Guard in 10th edition. And then we'll go to another Legends unit. This is a Arcurian Storm Hammer. Which when I was choosing a Baneblade to paint, I was like, oh man, that one looks the most Krieg, because it's got all these sponsons on the side, it's got all the cannons, that's the most Krieg thing in the whole list. So then I literally finished painting it, and then that's when I realized it was a Legends unit, because I didn't really understand what a Legends unit was when I started it. But I do now. But you know, that's right. You know, you can kind of run it as one of the other Baneblades if you really want to. Or just run it as the Legends Arcurian Stormhammer. That's a pretty good model, and I really wish it wasn't Legends, because like I said, it's pretty cool. I'm not sure what the ability is, because I haven't really looked into it. Because it's Legends and I haven't run 10th. Figure behind that one, we have got the Stormlord. And this thing can be very good, and I actually think it's very meta in 10th edition. I think it can do a lot of damage, and might be a sleeper, very good unit. But the Stormlord's ability is, you know, on your opponent's turn, you can get units to get back into the Stormlord, which can be pretty good. But I think where the Stormlord really shines is its firing deck ability. And that is why I have so many heavy weapons team, because the Stormlord has a like 24 model firing deck, and then capacity for about, I think, 40 models. So, you know, you toss in a bunch of heavy weapons teams, right? And then basically you get to fire every single heavy weapons team as if the Stormlord was shooting them. Except, what I kind of mentioned is order efficiency. The Guard, like, realistically, you're not going to take aim to every single heavy weapons team on the board. But, you know, you get Lord Solar to give one order to the Stormlord. And then you've suddenly given order to, you know, 6 different models at once, all shooting from within the Stormlord. And I can put out a tremendous amount of fire. You know, if you hold still in the Guard, you get lethal hits. So you keep this thing still, you're shooting all the Stormlord's actual guns, in addition to every single heavy weapons team inside of it. That'll do a lot of damage against pretty much anything. Doesn't matter if it's just Dakka, like you're doing lethal hits. You know, you might be able to do... Well, actually, I don't think take aim works. I don't think... Fields of Fire doesn't work on the Stormlord, because it's not regimental. It's not squadron or regimental, but... Still a lot of damage. And like I said, I think... Maybe you try to experiment it with yourself, but I think it does a lot of damage. This is kind of my custom Stormlord. It's got, you know, a Gorgon tray or body, and a Stormlord chassis. I just thought it looked more deathcore. And, you know, leave a comment if you understand the name. Behind them, we've got our Sentinels. The 2 old style Sentinels are kind of magnetized, where you can switch the missiles and the guns. But the 2 big ones are fully magnetized, or the 2 new style ones. So you can switch them from being like scouts to armored, or you can switch whatever weapons you got. So I have it down as 3 armored and one just regular scout, because I can't switch this one. So no, I can't switch this one. So it always has to be a scout, and this one always has to be armored. But these 2 other ones can be switched between whatever I need them to be. And eventually, if I got enough time, I'll end up having the full chicken run of 18 Sentinels running around the board. 9 armored, 9 scout, and just having a great time. But I'm not there yet. Behind them, we got my Knight Castellan in Deathcore Krieg clothing, I guess. And, you know, I don't want to hear that, oh, it's a knight, so it doesn't count as a guard. This one counts as a guard, look at it. I haven't actually used this one in 10th edition. In 9th edition, it was a good way to get some really good heavy armor and anti-armor in the guard. But I think the guard have a lot of that. Like, guard doesn't really hurt for anti-tank in 9th or 10th. So it's not as big of a reason to run the Castellan anymore. You'd be ready to run one of the Baneblades if you have access to them. But it's still a cool model. So I'm going to include them in my 6,500 points, and I don't want to hear nothing about it. In front of them, I've got 2 Leman Russes. These are the Mars Alpha pattern ones, or the DKoK Krieg version ones. So they got the trench rails, they got the slightly longer bodies, they got the air filters on the back. I got this down as 1 tank commander, because that's what I actually intended these to be, and then 1 just normal battle cannon one. But they are fully magnetized, so you can take off the battle cannons, you can switch off the sponsons, you know, take the turret off the top if you want to. Like I said, I was gonna run these Mars Alpha pattern ones as tank commanders, and then I was gonna get regular Leman Russes to be the other versions, so you have a clear distinction between what the tank commander was and what just normal one was. And I'm not there yet, but I'll get there soon. The tank commander ability is like fight on death, or shoot on death, which is, you know, pretty good. Not great. Like, you kind of have to wait for the tank commander to die to be able to use it, so it's not fantastic, but it is the only way. Tank commander is the only way to give orders to other vehicles in the guard, other than Lord Solar. I'm not very good at it, but that's what we have to do until we get the codex, so that's what we'll do. Behind that, we have the Hellhound, and this thing is, I think, pretty good in 10th edition. Because of its ability, which says, you know, once it's shot, whatever unit you shot no longer has benefit of cover. So, you know, it's a good way to send up a good synergy with other units. You know, you drop Fields of Fire with Ursula Creed, you use the Hellhound to take off benefit of cover, so you know, there's no +1 AP and -1 AP, it's just straight up damage. And, you know, the gun itself is also pretty good. The Inferno Cannon. I tried to run the Chem Cannon, but I didn't really have much success with it. So I thought maybe the Inferno Cannon was the better way to go most of the time. Because the Chem Cannon's only got a 12-inch range, where the Inferno Cannon's got an 18. I haven't run the Melter Cannon version, but that's another way to get some good anti-tank, is using the Melter Cannon. It's also got Blast, so that's good. But like I said, I've never really run that version yet. And then I think we're on to the last units, which are the Rogodorns, which are another very good unit in 10th edition. I have been running 2 of the Rogodorns in my recent lists, and I usually run with the Oppressor and run with the Twin Battle Cannon. I never run the Castigate. I never run the little Gatling gun. I always run the little nipple gun in the front there, because I find that thing to be pretty devastating. And I will never understand why that has more AP than the main cannon, but for whatever reason it does. But these Rogodorns are once again fully magnetized, so you can switch off the sponsons, you can switch off every option you can switch it on these Rogodorns, which is good. And they got slightly, this one I've put, rather than have the 2 little nipple guns on the front for the machine guns, this one's got lights, and then I put the nipple guns on top. And yeah, they're pretty. Their rule in 10th edition isn't fantastic, which is basically once a game you can just ignore a damage roll, or you can ignore a save roll and just say you auto pass basically, and don't take the damage for the dice, which is okay. But just the amount of firepower they can put out, you know, and combine them with the Lord Solar to give them +1 to hit, and they can be pretty devastating. You know, you park them in the, they've got 72-inch range, which in most armies unheard of, but the guard, that's like, you know, I think most guard things will have 24-inch minimum. So, you know, you run them and just park them in the back line of your field, and you just take advantage of your lethal hits, and you just do some good damage, you know, support your infantry. That's about it. That's the entire 6,500 point list. At the moment, I've been running a few games, 2,000 points. Like I said, been running the dual Rogodorns, an Engine Seer. We probably take some Marshals. We take 3 squads of Krieg. We take Chimera. We take some preachers back there. We always have a great time. I don't think I've really lost a game recently with the Guard. I don't really understand why a lot of Guard players have been saying they're not very good in 10th, because, like I said, I haven't really lost. That's even against, people say, oh, you don't play against people with anti-tank, or you don't play against people that are, like, competitive, but a lot of the games I've had is for people training to be, like, go to tournaments and stuff, so they are running, like, they are testing and running pseudo competitive lists, and the Guard just, because I'm having, like, I'm running, like, mixed arms. I'm not running, like, pure infantry. I'm not running pure tanks. And, being able to bring back reinforcements really messes with people. Having the Ogrin in, strategic reserve and just bring them in the back line really messes with people. Scions deep striking and just scoring an objective randomly is really good. Just gives you a lot of flexibility in the Guard. And, the +1 CP from Lord Solar is great. Yeah, so I think the Guard's pretty strong in 10th, even without their Codex, which will come in 2 to 3 years, because that's the way Games Workshop treat the Guard. Well, that's it. I hope you found this video good. I haven't mentioned one other unit, which is this big boy back here. When I originally made him, he was going to be my Earthshaker cannon, because I didn't really understand how big an Earthshaker carriage was. So him, compared to these things, you're like, ah, I see, that's why. Because he is a big boy. So I haven't included him in my 6,500 points. At this point, he's probably just scenery. But, yeah. I got some other stuff I've been painting. I got like this unsanctioned tank, which is like a, just Battlefield 3 basically. I painted up this big church back here. Painted some other stuff. That's about it. I hope you like and leave a comment. Maybe let me know what you think I should be painting next. I'd like to try to get to 8,000 points before the end of the year. I kind of made a few posts asking for what people think would be good. I was thinking maybe some Praetors, maybe increase my Scions, get a Valkyrie or two. I haven't got any of the Guard flyers, and I think they're like, at least the Valkyrie at the minimum is like a pretty iconic Guard vehicle. So I think it'd be good to grab one of them. I think it'd be good to get the Scions, like I said. Like I said, I'd like to get some Cadians, like some distinctly Cadian troops, some distinctly Catachan troops, and maybe just some distinctly platoon infantry troops. I've been toying with ideas on what to do with that. Maybe do like... I was thinking platoon infantry would be pretty similar to these, except they'd have like a light grey coat instead of a dark coat, and no backpacks. So they're kind of like fresh troops. And then, like I said, the Cadians would kind of be similar colours, except brown coats. I was thinking I'd use models similar to like Steel Legion, so kind of like short coats, just to be more like, shock troops. And then Catachans, I've got some pretty good models for the Catachans that I'll just get done eventually. Like I said, my eventual goal, like I said, 8,000 points by the end of the year, and my dream is to have one of every single unit you can have in the Guard. And I've got a pretty good chunk done so far.